and tomorrow will be the aspects in relation to governance, facilitation, and the maritime development, and the change that is required for this. You can be certain, and I will continue to reiterate this, that you have the support of IMO. But in return, I also need your commitment in your full implementation of the IMO instrument. Something that we're experiencing right now around the world is an enhanced increase fraudulent registrations coming from all over the different countries that are providing the service of ship registration. We are ready to support you. We're ready to be part of this sector in the shipping that actually allows you to tap into the opportunities to bring into your ship registries more vessels. But at the same time, we also need your commitment that you will follow the IMO rules and that these ships will not be a danger to safety, to security, and to the environment. This continent hosts 4 regional IMO presence that are ready to continue to work with you in relation to the technical expertise and experience that would allow you to reach those goals. And at the same time, as you heard earlier from the Minister from Kenya, we also have the Africa Maritime Technology Cooperation Center. We have a range of projects that will allow you to be part of this green transition. Fraudulent ship registries has emerged as a pressing challenge in recent years for IMO. And next year, the legal committee will start working on best practices for ship registration. And I will encourage you to bring your experience and expertise to be part of this process. African maritime prosperity depends on good maritime security and safety, and the insurance that this provides to the goods that are trading around the world. You will be addressing safety and security, and this is very timely because at the same time, the Djibouti Code of Conduct is meeting just 10 minutes away here by walk. I can tell you that because I walked this morning here. And they are actually already looking into the areas of implementations and enhanced security, and in particular governance that is required. They have an action plan, and I have asked them and encouraged them to now work in the deliverables, because we have too many strategies being adopted globally. We need to start focusing on implementation. And of course, we have seen how the challenges that we're facing in the Red Sea, which are detrimental, and of course, affect in particularly seafarers, innocent seafarers, and innocent shipping around the world. And it has a direct impact on you and on your economies, because rerouting vessels around Africa adds the distance and extends the transit times while increasing global demand by 3% and container ships demand by 12%. And as we work in decarbonizing the sector, this rerouting is also increasing greenhouse gas emissions by 70%. And what we have found out is that with all the actions that we have taken in relation to enhancing security through the Djibouti Code of Conduct and the Jeddah amendments, we still have work to do. And that's why the next step will be in identifying the specific areas for us to support the implementation of the actions that have been prepared and adopted. The targeted attacks of seafarers are unacceptable and must cease immediately. And I'll continue to call for the release of all the crew of the Galaxy Leader and the vessel. It's been over a year since they've been held captive. Now, an area that I also focus since the beginning of the year is the human element. And you will be discussing training for the future of maritime challenges. And the focus here is in particular seafarers. We need to invest in the new generation. We need to treat better our seafarers. This is a message that I have for you. It's a message that I've been sending to all the ship operators and ship owners around the world. Because if we want to attract the future talent, we need to adapt to their expectations as well. And we need to make life on board the ships better than what it is right now. And that includes enhancing diversity, because only 2% of seafarings around the world are women, when we also know that 50% of the global populations are women. So there's something that we are not doing right, and it's taking the steps on the actions that we know we need to take. And we need to stand by our commitments. When I came to IMO, one of the first things that I did was to establish a balance directorate. And I have 50%, or particularly gender balance, when it comes to my senior management. And the next step that I took is that when we do and participate in events, in presentations, and in panels where debates take place, I refuse to participate or take part in it if there's no women representation. And I have to set the example. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone. And yesterday I shared that with the Djibouti Code of Conduct meeting, because this was one of the actions that they were working and taking on. And they invited me to a panel that, of course, didn't have representation, and allows me to enhance with them why it is important that we take a stand and we move forward to what we have been promoting within the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. And we have until 2030 to reach these goals. As we move forward, this conference marks a new chapter for the association, and I'm very pleased that the Minister from Kenya also referred to implementation and not just on the adoption of the resolutions. And that's something that I welcome very much, because I have started the change in the deliverables of technical cooperation from IMO. We're going to focus on assessments from the countries, on the needs that you have, and the required consultancies and expertise that will bring you practical examples and practical implementations. But we're also going to leave you with homework, and we're going to measure the progress and then analyze what we need to do next, and that we're expecting you to do as well. Because we're competing with resources, not just with other UN agencies, but in general. And our resources are valuable. And I know that you understand that as well, because you face the same challenges that I face at IMO. So in doing so, I call you in focusing on the implementations of the activities. All those decisions that you made here on Sunday, I look forward to the action plan. So when we meet in a year's time, we can go to measure and have the performance indicators that will add and assist IMO to continue to provide that expertise that is so required for this continent and for all of you to continue to thrive and make the most of this transition. The collaboration that you always talk about, it's something that I would like to see in practical aspects. You share the same concerns when it comes to safety, security, and protection of the environment. I'll call on you not to compete with each other when it comes to that. The business is separate, but you can share your knowledge. You can share your expertise. You have associations here that can also assist you and bring forward that experience to IMO. Because it's time that whenever we speak about collaboration and cooperation, we don't leave it as a statement, and we start demonstrating to each other what we mean and how we actually do it. And with that, IMO is ready to continue to support you. I'm ready to stand by you in all the challenges that you have. And something that I mentioned yesterday, that it was a statement that was given to me a couple of weeks ago, and that I think is quite important for all of us to recognize, is that we are ready to do everything we can for you. But at the same time, I also want you to be prepared to do whatever it is necessary to support IMO. Because I represent 176 member states, all with different objectives and different challenges. But I'm ready to stand by each and every one of you. And at the same time, I'm ready to push you as well when I feel that there's more from you to give, there's more from you to demonstrate that shipping is indispensable, it's global, it's necessary, and it's ready to be safer, more secure, and greener. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best for these 3 days, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
I think the Secretary General deserves another round of warm applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your keynote address. It allows us to move forward as I welcome the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, United Republic of Tanzania. Please join me, Professor Kiarara, with your hands, ladies and gentlemen. And you have the honor of welcoming the guest, of welcoming the Minister of Transport, and in turn will welcome the guest of honor.
Honorable Dr. Mashaka Biteko, Deputy Permanent Secretary, United Republic of Tanzania, Honorable Professor Makame Mbarawa, Minister for Transport. I really don't have a speech. My role is to invite the Minister for Transport to give a note from the ministry and the sector, and later on to invite the guest of honor. So I'm standing between the speech and the notes. The notes have been given already by the DG of TASAC. My job is to ascertain some of the issues that have been already highlighted. First of all, the guest of honor, we had a good time yesterday with the Secretary General in the gala dinner. Most of the issues which he has elaborated here, I can ascertain that we already have a firm commitment. Decarbonization is one of the major issues in our transport policy, and the Honorable Minister may say something on it because we are now drafting the new policy of transport, and decarbonization is one of the major issues that have to be integrated within the transport sector. But also we have already started implementing in other subsectors of the transport. We know that we have the longest electrified railway in Africa, which is a big solution to the carbon emission. Millions of tons, they are being calculated that annually will be avoided through the railway. For the port, we are now discussing. We have several projects, including what we have started yesterday, discussing with the IMO and other stakeholders. We have topics on the use of high-powered batteries, the electrified vehicles, buses, trucks, etc. So I wanted to ascertain that. The other issues about the sector itself, the maritime sector for Tanzania is very critical, with over 1,400 plus kilometers of the coastline of the Indian Ocean. We have all the great three lakes in Africa, Tanganyika, Nyasa, Victoria. All this is to ascertain the importance of the maritime transport sector. Now, the last point was touched on by DC, representing the Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner. Hii naisema kwa Kiswahili, ni kweli kabisa sisi ni watendaji, tunashuhudia mabadiliko makubwa sana yaliyotokea katika bandari ya Dar es Salaam. Hiyo ni shukrani za pekee kwa Mheshimiwa Rais Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. Ni kweli swala la foleni alipo. We used to be called Dar es Salaam the decongested port. Now it's no longer an issue. There is no congestion. We have a lot of improvements. All this is to thank you, the government, for all the efforts that we have seen. Now, the last issue is for the capacity building, which was touched upon by the DG TASAC. We still emphasize this. The government, we really have a lot of hope from the IMO that we will work together in all these issues that have been mentioned, the search and rescue, capacity building of the DMI, digitalization, and decarbonization. So for those few words, Mheshimiwa Waziri, Professor Makame Mbarawa, it's now your time to give the sector and the government welcoming notes. Thank you very much.
Honorable Dr. Doto Mashaka Biteko, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Energy of the United Republic of Tanzania, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, IMO, Honorable Deputy Ministers present here, Honorable Edward Mpogolo, District Commissioner for Ilala District, Dar es Salaam, Professor Kaiharara, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport, and other permanent secretaries present here, Mr. Mohammed Salum, Director General, Tanzania Shipping Agencies Corporation, distinguished delegates, partners, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Energy, first and foremost, I would like to thank you, the Almighty God, for giving me this opportunity to stand in front of you this morning. On behalf of the government of United Republic of Tanzania, and on my own behalf, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all participants, partners, visitors, and friends to Tanzania. Also, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and many thanks to you, Honorable Dr. Mashaka Biteko, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Energy, for accepting our request and participating yourself as a guest of honor to officiate the seventh conference and assembly of the Association of African Maritime Administrations. This important maritime meeting will be here for 3 days from today up to 1st December next month. Honorable Deputy Minister and the Minister of Energy, this conference and assembly bring together maritime administrators from all of Africa. We are also honored to have the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization with us, along with other partners. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy, I understand that my primary task is to invite you, guest of honor, to deliver the keynote speech for this conference and the assembly. Despite that, kindly allow me to briefly highlight some initiatives we are undertaking to improve the quality of maritime transport services in our country. It is important to mention that the impact of these initiatives extend beyond our borders due to the nature of the maritime transport sector. Distinguished delegates, dear comrades and friends, within the East African community, Tanzania is proud to be implementing multinational Lake Victoria Maritime Communication and Transport Project. This project includes the ongoing construction of Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, as well as procurement of search and rescue boats. These measures are aimed at addressing frequently maritime accidents on Lake Victoria, a vital waterway where numerous vessels are engaged in transport and cargo transportation, as well as fishing activities. Distinguished delegates, friends, and partners, modernization of Port of Dar es Salaam. The government has continued to modernize coastal and main inland ports to handle import and export for both the country and land-linked countries. For example, the modernization of Port of Dar es Salaam through the Dar es Salaam Maritime Gateway Project has already been completed by 99%, and this improvement has allowed post-Panamax vessels to access the port. Distinguished delegates, through the private sector participation, Dar es Salaam Port has made a significant investment in key areas, including installation of modern IT systems for port operations, major rehabilitation and maintenance of facilities, and the acquisition of operational equipment. The private sector participation in Port of Dar es Salaam has significantly reduced shipping traffic congestion, as mentioned by my permanent secretary. Distinguished delegates, efficient cargo delivery and offtake are critical to the performance of our port. To address these challenges, the government is implementing a standard gauge railway project whereby 2,561 kilometers is under construction, of which section of 300 kilometers from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro and 422 kilometers from Morogoro to Dodoma is completed, and passenger SGR train is operational since 25th of July this year. Construction work on the section beyond Dodoma is progressing at various stages. Once SGR project is fully operationalized, we expected significant improvement in cargo delivery and offtake from Port of Dar es Salaam to various destinations, including Burundi and DRC. Hence, this will promote competitiveness and improved regional and globally economic integration. Distinguished delegates, on the training side, the government through Dar es Salaam Maritime Institute has finalized the procurement of a full mission crane simulator. This simulator has been installed and is now being used for practical training in handling cargoes on ships and other water transport vessels. Distinguished delegates, the government is also reviewing the National Transport Policy of 2003. The review of the National Transport Policy started in July 2024 and is expected to be completed in 2025. Also in 2025, the government will start to develop a national maritime transport policy. Distinguished delegates, after highlights those government initiatives, now it is my single honor and privilege to welcome you, our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Biteko, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Energy, to deliver your keynote speech for this conference. Mheshimiwa Naibu Waziri Mkuu, karibu sana.
Kindly take your seats, please. Honorable Professor Makame Mnyambalawa, the Minister for Transport, Mr. Senio Antonio Velasco, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers here present, Honorable Edward Mpogolo, the Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner Representative, Professor Gadius Walter Kayalala, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Transport, and other permanent secretaries here present, Mr. Mohammed Malik Salum, the Director General for Tanzania Shipping Agent Corporation, Julius Koich, Acting Director General, Kenya Maritime Authority, and Chair of the Association of African Maritime Administration, distinguished delegates, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to thank Honorable Professor Makame Mnyambalawa, the Minister of Transport, to invite me to officiate this important maritime conference. As mentioned, this is the 7th conference and General Assembly of the Association of Africa Maritime Association Administration. I wish to extend a proud Tanzanian and welcome all delegates to Dar es Salaam, particularly by using the Kiswahili word, karibuni sana, 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 Dar es Salaam. I wish also to express our appreciations for the Association of Africa Maritime Administration for choosing the United Republic of Tanzania to host this conference and the General Assembly. I've been briefed that this conference serves as a platform for African maritime administration from across Africa and beyond to come together and share insights and learn from fellow practitioners and experts from member states. I'm also delighted to know that this conference aims at fostering the collaboration amongst various maritime administrations across the continent. Indeed, this is argued well in the African United Charter, particularly Article 3, which advocates for increased cooperation among African states and institutions. I therefore encourage all delegates to harness this opportunity to connect with peers and experts from Africa and beyond. I request you all to please give the organizers and speakers a round of applause, because this looks to be a very promising conference. Tuwapigie makofi mengi sana, sana, sana. Distinguished delegates, let me also confess that I'm impressed by the theme of this conference: navigating the future of Africa maritime sector, collaborating on technology and innovation to enhance the safety, security, decarbonization, and maritime environment for a sustainable future. The theme resonates very well with the need of maritime administration to translate limitation and effective positive change in our world today, and more so in Africa to be particular. This theme should therefore inspire all delegations who are here today physically and those who are participating virtually to push the past constraints, explore new horizons, and strive to take control and effect the future of Africa maritime sector. The theme further points the involvement of and the role of maritime administration, and that it is imperative to go beyond traditional boundaries and embrace innovation, collaboration, and forward-thinking approaches. In this interconnected maritime sector, where challenges and opportunities extend far beyond the geographical divides, maritime administration must aspire to make tangible differences, especially regarding your core mandate on enhancing maritime safety, security, protection, and the maritime environment as a result of pollution from ship operations. Through this conference, I would like also to appeal to all administrations to continuously refine your skill sets, embrace technology, and keep pace with the evolving landscape of emerging issues to remain at the driving seat. Members, I'm not a maritime expert. I may confess this in the outset. Therefore, I beg for your indulgence. Should I sleep in my reflection when giving my reflection here today? To my understanding, the Association of Africa Maritime Administration seek to promote and develop Africa maritime regulatory and maritime environment. It also promotes and sharing the best practices among African maritime administrations to enable the growth of African maritime sector. And again, it enhances continental collaboration and build consensus on issues of common interest in the maritime sector. I'm pleased with these goals as they align nicely with the Agenda 26.3 of the Africa We Want and its flagship projects under the African Continent Free Trade Area. As implementation of African Free Continent Trade Area is gathering a momentum, intra-African trade will inevitably be enhanced at unprecedented levels. We expect, therefore, the increased movement of imports and exports of goods across the continent, and since most of goods are carried by sea, its implication to relevant institutions in Africa countries are very clear. They need to be positioned themselves to discharge their mandate in an innovative manner so that we can enhance our economy and make the continent grow. Delegates, members, you will also agree with me that it will be amiss not to include the African Maritime Administration in the group of key and relevant institutions in facilitating not only the implementation of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, but also, as I mentioned in my speech, that the significant outcome of the implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area will increase transportation of goods across the continent by sea. The raise of question of whether Africa is adequately prepared to meet this rising demand of maritime transport services, this conference will offer some solutions, if not answers. Fortunately, these concerns are addressed in Africa Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050, commonly known as 2050 AIM strategy. The strategy emphasizes, among others, the intensified effort of regional economic community and member states to significantly increase Africa's share of global ship ownership by a close tonnage of from 0.9% to at 7% by 2050. The 2050 AM strategy challenges maritime administrations in Africa to take a leading and facilitative roles in addressing the need of modern times. The role of maritime transport in facilitating trade African countries in Africa, between Africa and the rest of the world, cannot be overemphasized. I therefore urge you to take a lead role with your mandate to put in place an enabling environment which would contribute toward the realization of full implementation of Africa continental free trade. In so doing, by bringing us closer to Africa, we want Agenda 2063. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I should also call upon Africa Maritime Administration to participate in a consultative in the respective country, which are geared toward the formulation of enabling policies, in this case, the national maritime transport policies. As the Honorable Minister has said here previously, Tanzania also is in the same process of formulating the same policy. In order to ensure effective participation, we must take stock of our capacity to formulate access and implementation and implement those maritime transport policies in our respective countries. I'm therefore delighted that the conference in which the International Maritime Organization is represented at the highest capacity, the president of the SG of IMO, is a strong statement of its readiness to collaborate with us. I believe, therefore, that the cause of this conference, representative from the IMO will bring attention to participants, ways of processing, assistance in building capacity to formulate national maritime transport policies which shall eventually ensure governance and development of maritime transport sector and trade in a sustainable manner. Distinguished delegates, I'm also happy that this conference will explore maritime development, trade, and I have been briefed that other topics will be discussed. These include decarbonization of international shipping and its impact on Africa. Another topic which is going to be at the center is the gender and diversity of the maritime sector and capacity building and training to prepare for future technology, also financing sustainable maritime transport. All these topics, in my view, are exciting, interesting, and pertinent to Africa. I convey my appreciation to the organizers for choosing them. Had it not been of my occupied schedule, I would have stayed with you, listen and participate and discuss also, and learn from the presenters when we look forward on how we can achieve these goals. I'm therefore looking forward for receiving actionable points from this conference, and indeed, I urge all participants to fully participate, give your contribution, share your insights and experience from your respective countries so that we can learn from each other. As the SG said, we are not competing from each other, but we are complementing each other. As the organizers have rightly captured in the theme of this conference, it is critical that we collaborate among ourselves and with key stakeholders, notably the International Maritime Organization and other international development partners. To just mention a few, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, trademark so that Africa is not left behind in the global maritime landscape. I was briefly discussing with the SG when I was in the holding room and then when I was sitting close to him, as when we were discussing the decarbonization process, especially in today's world. You see, in the energy sector, this has been a subject of every conference, that we need to do something to decarbonize the world. But what are the challenges that is pushing us back? Because whenever we meet, we discuss the same topic. We even create a deadline. Like, come 2030, we will be zero net. But when 2030 arrives, we push more years. But again, we don't take much time to reflect why have we not received what we targeted. The question was answered by the SG, because he's an experienced man. He told me there are a number of reasons, but number one is financing. I thought if I could ask him what is the second reason, he would also tell me is the financing. That is the reason. But members of this conference, we have to start somewhere. If at all we sit down and wait for finance to flow so that we implement the projects, trust me, 100 years to come, we'll keep setting targets of dates not achievable. Why? Because we need money. I was reading somewhere the world needs more than $4 trillion annually to transition the population from traditional energy to green energy. Where are we going to raise this money? I think it is the time for every country to try at little space as you can, move somewhere. At least after some years, we will zero this world from decarbonized energy. Distinguished delegates, I thank the Secretary General of International Maritime Organization for deciding to participate in this conference personally. Your presence here is a clear testimony that Africa concerns are accorded due weight by the International Maritime Organization, and that IMO is ready to work with African countries in seeing out the implementation of roadmap which will develop the deliberations of this conference. As I'm approaching to the end of my speech, allow me to propose that upon lapsing of the 3 intensive days of this conference, you should consider exploring what Tanzania can offer. Now that you are here in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, those who have not been to our beautiful island in Zanzibar should consider visiting it, including you, SG. Because you have told me this is your first time in Tanzania. I believe you make a day or two visit Zanzibar. You may also treat yourself to Serengeti and Ngorongoro National Parks and many more other tourist destinations in this country. As I was moving around the exhibition booth this morning, I have noted that the Tanzania Tourism Board has also secured a booth for the same. I urge you to visit and gather information on various sites where you can explore during your stay in Tanzania. So take some time after the conference to express the warm hospitality of Tanzanian people that you won't regret. I can bet that. With this many of you remarks, it is now my honor and privilege to declare the 7th Conference and General Assembly of the Association of Africa Maritime Administration officially opened, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Your hands, ladies and gentlemen. Your hands once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the guest of honor.
Hey.
Karibu Mheshimiwa.
MC, please give me 1 more minute.
Okay,
I know you're running short of time. Just want to make a small brief. Please, get your seat, please.
Thank you.
For the Tanzanian member of the place, Tanzania kupitia shirika la wakala wa meli Tanzania, TASAC, na Wizara ya Uchukuzi imeteuliwa kuwa nchi mwenyeji wa mkutano wa Saba wa kimataifa wa Jumuiya ya Mamlaka ya Usimamizi wa Usafiri wa Maji Barani. Mkutano huu nimefungua leo, lakini utaendelea hadi Oktoba 1 Disemba 2024. Lengo la mkutano huu ni kujadili masuala muhimu yanayohusu maendeleo ya udhibiti na usimamizi usafiri wa majini barani Afrika, huku kipaumbele kikiwa ni mustakabali wa usafiri wa maji na kuongeza ushirikiano baina ya nchi wanachama, kama kauli mbiu inasemavyo kuwa kuimarisha mustakabali wa sekta ya usafirishaji wa maji barani Afrika, ushirikiano katika teknolojia ya ubunifu ili kupunguza hewa ya ukaa, kuimarisha usalama na mazingira ya sekta ya usafiri majini kwa mustakabali endelevu. Mkutano huu utatumika kama jukwaa muhimu kuwezesha wadau kushiriki katika majadiliano yanayogusa masuala ya teknolojia na ubunifu yenye lengo na yenye kulenga na kuimarisha usalama mazingira ya usafiri majini. Pia washiriki watapata fursa ya kuingia makubaliano ya kibiashara, kuanzisha mitandao ya ushirikiano katika uendeshaji wa masuala mbalimbali yanayohusiana na fursa za kiuchumi wa bluu. Chukua fursa hii kumshukuru sana Bwana Antonio Dominguez, Katibu Mkuu wa Shirika la Bahari Duniani IMO, kwa heshima kubwa kwa Tanzania kwa kuamua kushiriki yeye mwenyewe, hasa katika kipindi hiki tunapotekeleza sera ya taifa ya uchumi wa bluu, ambapo kama nchi tumebaini masuala ambayo serikali kwa kushirikiana na wadau tutaendelea kuhakikisha kuwa nchi yetu inanufaika kwa haraka. Nchi yetu inazo fursa nyingi, na Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Uchukuzi, Mheshimiwa Profesa Makame Mbarawa amezieleza na singependa kuchukua muda kuzieleza. Sisi kama taifa tunaendelea kufanya tafiti na kuwekeza katika uvunaji wa rasilimali baharini na maziwa zitakazosaidia kuongeza uwezo wa nchi yetu na kuwahudumia wananchi, kuwaletea maendeleo. Sasa tunatoa wito kwa wadau wote wa sekta ya usafiri wa majini, wakiwemo wasafirishaji, wamiliki wa vyombo vya usafiri wa majini na viongozi wa serikali, kushiriki kikamilifu kupata uelewa mpana kupitia mkutano huu ili kuboresha sekta hii muhimu kwa manufaa ya nchi yetu na Afrika kwa ujumla. Hayo ndio tunayofanyia kazi hapa leo. Kwa hiyo nichukue nafasi hii kuwakaribisha sana wale wote waliotoka mbali ya Tanzania kuja kuungana nasi kwa ajili ya mkutano huu. Wajue kuwa Tanzania ni nyumbani kwao, wajisikie huru na wachukue nafasi hii kutembelea vivutio mbalimbali vya utalii vilivyoko katika nchi yetu. Wale ambao hawajafika Zanzibar tunawakaribisha watembelee Zanzibar, Ngorongoro na maeneo mengine kama Serengeti ili waone vivutio vya utalii kwenye nchi yetu. Baada ya kusema hayo, nawashukuru sana na asanteni tena kwa kunisikiliza.
Nakushukuru sana Mheshimiwa, asante kwa kufikisha ujumbe kwa wananchi kote nchini na hata nje ya nchi ambao wanatufuatilia. Tupo mubashara kupitia mitandao mbalimbali, kurasa za maelezo, DMI na kadhalika. Honorable guest of honor, we'd like to do two things very quickly. One, we have a special guest in the country and we'd like to honor him with a special gift, a souvenir of Tanzania, I've been told, and it's been presented by you to Mr. Arsenio. And here it is. May I please request that you stand and we hand that over to Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, this photo moment and this very occasion requires your hands. So from afar I see the big five, and you're taking that home as a Makonde carving from wood that is ivory. Next we'll take pictures. May I request, as soon as the high table is seated, so that we are prompt in what we do, napiga picha. We have deputy ministers and permanent secretaries in the room. Please pass to your right, my side of the room. May I please welcome you to the picture now, please. Deputy ministers and permanent secretaries and principal secretaries, as it is in Kenya, please pass this way. And then I'll be calling on heads of delegations and administrations. These are all the DGs. If you would start to move out of your seats, please. Okay. Heads of delegations and administrations. The various DGs in the room representing various countries. Please come up to the ones taking the pictures will exit towards the right. So please come up. Please come up. Yeah, briskly. That's a very big group. I think I should take two. Yeah, we'll do two groups. Could we please flow all the way to the very end, and let's come close to the chairs. All right, that's group number one. George, give me an indication. Are we good? All right, thank you. Group number two. Group number two, please, all the way to the very end. Please exit right. All the way to the very end. TASAC board, please, you're next after these heads of delegations and administrations. TASAC board, please move close. And the TASAC management, please move close. All right, let's finalize. Third group. The third group, please come through. And please, let's move to the very end where the TASAC DG is. TASAC board, please come up the stairs. TASAC board first. Management, you will follow thereafter. All right, thank you very much. TASAC board, please come up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the TASAC board coming up. Members of the management, please come all the way close to the stairs. Karibuni karibu na ngazi na ongereni sana. We have two major pictures to take. Please listen carefully. Representatives of regional bodies. I can see you're seated here. Representatives. Management, please, karibuni. Management, please come through. All right, representatives of regional bodies, please step up. Please come up. Please come up. We also have representation from Zanzibar. Naomba kama ikiwezekana na kama tupo wengi, wawakilishi kutoka Zanzibar na wawakilishi wa Wizara ya Uchukuzi tuje pamoja. Iwe picha moja. Wizara ya Uchukuzi, DG wa Zanzibar Zemede, please naomba ujiunge na delegation yako ya Zanzibar. Naomba mchukue hatua kidogo hima. Karibuni juu ya jukwaa. Naomba mpande jukwani moja kwa moja. Asante, nashukuru sana. Moja inaitwa hao ni graduates wa chuo chao na vyuo vyao. Moja. Okay. May I please call on WMU and IMLI graduates? Please stand so I can see you. You have a special picture. Please come forward. Please come forward very quickly and pass behind the photographers. Please come up onto the stage. WMU, IMLI graduates, please come up onto the stage. I believe this is the last picture I'm taking. If you're repeating a photo, maybe it's not a good idea to come back for a second photo. Let others have an opportunity. All right, let's take 2 shots very quickly. That's group number 1. Asante, group number 2. All right, this is the final picture. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we've had the honor of having a guest of honor who's truly understands our issues. He's given us great advice and also motivation to have constructive deliberations during the 3-day conference. We thank him for opening the conference. May we now stand and bid him kazi njema. Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. The work continues right here. The brass band, please, let us see our guest of honor off. With our hands, makofi mabimna bwana. Let's put our hands together. All right. Thank you very much. Please gather your things. I'm going to take you to, I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it a brunch because it is tea and lunch almost, it's almost lunchtime. So some of you have been requesting for coffee, a little refreshing break. Maybe due to our numbers, we do a quick 30, 25